Awaken your spirit, chosen one. You didn't stumble onto this message by chance. Lately, something's been tugging at your soul, hasn't it? A name that won't leave your thoughts. A presence you feel even in their absence. It's as if the universe is whispering clues into your life over and over again. Repeating numbers, familiar songs, dreams that leave you wide-eyed in the dark. You've been wondering, is this a sign? Are they the one? Is this my soulmate? But lean in for a moment. Because here's what most people never realize. Not all. Signs point to destiny. Sometimes signs are not confirmations. They're warnings wrapped in beauty. You've been taught that love always comes with butterflies, but the truth is, even traps can feel thrilling right before they snap shut. That's the twist. They don't tell you that the enemy knows what you've been praying for too. And he has no problem dressing up delay in a soulmate costume. If the world understood how easily fantasy can mimic the energy of a soulmate, they'd stop chasing sparks and start asking for peace. Because real love from God doesn't confuse you, it doesn't exhaust you, and it never has to be forced. That's why you, chosen one, are different. You don't chase, you discern. You feel the shift before it even arrives. You sense when something is off, even when the world around you is clapping in celebration. You've been set apart for something sacred. Your heart is not some playground for anyone to wander into. You carry wisdom that others don't see. A quiet knowing, a deep intuition. And right now, God is sending you so many signs, not to overwhelm you, but to wake you up, to get your attention. Because the next choice you make in love isn't just emotional, it's spiritual warfare disguised as romance. If you ignore these signs, if you call someone your soulmate before they've been revealed by God, you risk aligning your soul with someone who was never meant to walk through your purpose. You risk delaying your destiny. You risk stepping into a relationship that feels good but drains your spirit silently. And that's not a lesson you need to learn the hard way, not again. The divine has kept this revelation hidden from most because it's sacred knowledge. Not everyone is meant to carry this level of discernment, but you are. You're not being held back. You're being held in place for protection. God is shielding your heart until your spirit is strong enough to see beyond appearances. You're not just looking for a partner. You're carrying a purpose that needs the right person to match it, nurture it, and multiply it. This is why you've been feeling restless. This is why you can't shake the feeling that something is off. Because deep down, your soul knows this isn't just about chemistry, it's about alignment. And God won't let you settle when He's trying to send you sacred. So before you give someone a title they haven't earned, before you wrap your soul around a situation that drains your power, pause, reflect, pray. Because when God sends the right one, it won't feel like confusion. It will feel like clarity, not loud chaos, but sacred calm. If this message resonates deep in your spirit, then it was meant for you. Like this video, subscribe, and comment. I choose divine alignment to join this journey. Let's walk this path together, with eyes wide open and hearts fully guarded by wisdom. You've felt it, haven't you? That unshakable pull in your spirit, the soft nudge in your chest when you're around them, the constant whispers from the universe, placing their name in your dreams, their energy in your thoughts, their image in places you swore you'd never look again. At first, it felt magical, like destiny was calling. But lately, it's been confusing, restless. Something's not sitting right in your soul. Chosen one, let me tell you something the world rarely speaks about. Not every connection is covenant. Not every person who arrives with fire in their eyes is sent to light your future. Some come to burn everything down. Some walk in like an answered prayer, but are nothing more than divine tests in disguise. It's easy to believe that every intense feeling must mean fate, but intensity alone is not confirmation. Sometimes the strongest storms come dressed as the most beautiful sunsets. They look good. They even feel good. But they're leading you into chaos, masked as connection. And if you're not careful, if you mistake chemistry for covenant, you will chain your soul to someone who was only meant to reveal a lesson, not walk with you into legacy. That's the danger of being chosen. Your heart carries so much light that people mistake your presence for healing. They're drawn to you not because they love you, but because your spirit makes them feel alive. But their hunger doesn't always mean alignment. And your compassion doesn't mean they're your assignment. You see, God doesn't test the easily fooled. He tests the spiritually awakened. And that's you. You're not just here to find love. You're here to discern love. You're here to break the generational curse of calling someone a soulmate just because they mirrored your brokenness. You're here to stop repeating cycles of trauma dressed up as romance. Because when your soul is sacred, your connections must be too. There are relationships that look divine on the outside, but leave you spiritually dehydrated. And there are people who speak your love language fluently, yet can't comprehend your destiny. That's why some signs aren't green lights, they're warning lights. That's why you keep seeing the same numbers, hearing the same song, feeling that same tightness in your chest every time you try to give them another chance. God isn't trying to confuse you. He's trying to protect you from false confirmation. Listen, the enemy doesn't need to destroy you violently. He just needs to distract you silently. And his favorite tactic? Counterfeit connections. People who almost look like your answered prayer. People who match the image of what you asked for, but lack the anointing to walk with you. People who say all the right things, but carry none of the right fruit. They'll say they love God, but can't love you with patience. They'll quote scripture, but still carry spiritual residue. They'll match your wounds, but never help you heal, and you'll feel it. Your body will know before your mind catches up. Your spirit will whisper, "This doesn't feel like peace." You'll find yourself feeling drained after conversations that should have given you life. You'll overthink messages, read between lines, wait for them to show up in a way they never do. And yet you'll call it love because it once felt powerful. But chosen one, real love doesn't confuse you. Real love confirms you. It doesn't make you feel small, unsure, or anxious. It wraps you in clarity, not chaos. When God sends someone truly aligned with your purpose, there's no guessing game. You won't have to beg for consistency, interpret silence, or settle for breadcrumbs. You'll feel seen without having to over-explain. You'll feel safe without building walls. You'll feel understood without having to shrink your spirit. You were never meant to water someone else's garden while yours withers. You were never meant to break yourself into pieces just to fit into someone else's path. Your love is not desperate. It's divine. It's rare. And that's why it must be protected, not poured out for the wrong ones to misuse. Stop labeling the person you prayed for as a soulmate if their presence brings confusion instead of clarity. That's not divine union. That's distraction. That's delay. That's destiny being whispered through smoke and mirrors. Don't call them your person just because the chemistry is strong. God never sends a relationship that requires you to sacrifice your peace just to keep it. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to walk away when the soul tie is strong. It's hard to accept that the one you thought was the one might have only been a season. But your calling is too high to keep getting stuck in spiritual quicksand. Every moment you spend trying to fix what God has been trying to remove is time stolen from your future. Let them go and let God show you what alignment really feels like. The one who is for you will not just ignite your heart. They will honor your soul. They will walk beside you, not drag you. They will bring confirmation, not confusion. They will know how to pour into you because they're being poured into by God Himself. That's how you'll know. Not by the butterflies, not by the sparks, but by the peace. the unshakable, supernatural peace that only divine love brings. And if you're still feeling confused, still asking for clarity, that is your clarity. Real. Love doesn't leave you guessing. God's plan won't feel like anxiety, and your soulmate will never require you to sacrifice your purpose for their presence. Chosen one, you've outgrown fantasy. You're walking in divine discernment now, and that means you'll have to let go of the people, the connections, the feelings that once made you feel alive, but now keep you stuck, because you can't carry divine abundance while clinging to emotional scraps. You are not hard to love. You've just been trying to be loved by people who were never designed to hold the weight of your spirit. You are not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. And no matter how many signs they seem to fulfill, if they can't walk beside your destiny, they are not the one God sent. There's a reason your spirit has been uneasy. There's a reason you've been getting confirmation after confirmation, the same dreams, the same gut feelings, the same red flags dressed up in charm. That's not just coincidence. That's divine intervention. That's God shouting in symbols what your heart is whispering in silence. You've been chosen for more. You've been set apart for a higher path. And that means not everyone can walk with you. You are royalty. You are spiritual authority wrapped in flesh, and your future is too important to be tethered to someone who isn't ready to carry it with you. So now is the time to trust your intuition, to honor the signs, to believe that clarity is more powerful than chemistry, and to stop calling someone your soulmate just because you don't want to be alone. God is not punishing you with loneliness. He's preparing you for legacy. The space you feel right now, it's not emptiness. It's sacred ground being cleared for divine union. Don't fill it with a counterfeit because you're tired of waiting. The one who is meant for you will arrive whole, ready, led by God, and aligned with the assignment on your life. Keep your heart guarded. Keep your standards high. Keep your spirit open, but your discernment higher. Because when the real one comes, you won't have to chase. You won't have to explain. You won't have to fix. You'll just know. It'll feel like exhaling after years of holding your breath. You'll realize why every other door had to close, why every almost had to end, why the signs came so loud, so clear, so often. Because God was never trying to take love from you. He was trying to give you something so sacred, so holy, so aligned, that you would never again confuse trauma for passion or chaos for connection. You're ready now. You're not waiting on love. Love is waiting on your clarity. Chosen one, hear this with your whole spirit. The enemy doesn't come with horns and chaos. He comes with charm, charisma, and timing so precise it looks like a miracle. But it's not. It's a mimic, a trap, a counterfeit wrapped in everything you ever said you wanted. That's why discernment is not just a gift, it's your spiritual armor. There's a reason the enemy shows up before the blessing, because he wants to confuse your heart before God can crown your life with divine clarity. He wants to offer you a version of your prayers, one that looks right, sounds right, and feels right, but leaves your soul in pieces. He wants to distract you with someone who speaks the same language as your pain, not the language of your purpose. He sends people who know how to touch your wounds, not how to help you heal. That's why you can't afford to judge a connection by surface-level signs. You've got to go deeper. You've got to feel beyond the words. You've got to discern the fruit. Because the enemy doesn't need to destroy you, he just needs to delay you, to sidetrack your calling, to take your focus off the assignment God has placed in your hands. And nothing does that faster than a soul tie with the wrong person. Chosen one, don't mistake mutual interest for mutual anointing. Just because they want you doesn't mean they're equipped to walk with you. Just because they admire your light doesn't mean they were designed to protect it. Some people are drawn to your glow but can't handle your fire. They want your presence but can't carry your promise. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your energy trying to explain. You're calling to someone who was never spiritually mature enough to receive it. Let the counterfeit fall away. Let God do the separating. Because when the real one shows up, you won't have to beg God for signs. You'll recognize them by their fruit, by their consistency, by the peace they bring to your life without demanding your power in return. You'll recognize them because your spirit will exhale. You'll stop shrinking. You'll stop second-guessing. You'll stop overcompensating just to feel enough. You'll realize you were always enough. It just wasn't the right soul standing beside you. But to see that, you've got to start trusting what your body has already been trying to tell you. You know that sinking feeling in your stomach, that sudden exhaustion after you talk to them, that constant anxiety masquerading as butterflies. That's not passion, it's pressure. That's not love, it's survival. That's your nervous system trying to protect your spirit. God made your body a vessel, but He also made it a compass. And when something isn't right, your system knows before your logic catches up. Your peace begins to evaporate. Your thoughts grow heavy. And suddenly, you're living in a version of love that feels more like a battlefield than a blessing. Chosen one, your intuition is not paranoia. It's prophetic. Stop ignoring the internal alarms just because the external appearance looks divine. Stop overriding your discernment just to fulfill your fantasy, because God doesn't send confusion. He doesn't wrap blessings in torment. He doesn't send love that makes you question your worth or silence your voice to maintain the bond. You are worthy of a love that feels like peace, not tension. You are worthy of a relationship that expands your spirit, not drains your energy. You are worthy of a connection that doesn't require you to abandon your inner knowing just to keep someone who was never aligned in the first place. And don't let the world gaslight you into believing you're too much or too guarded. No, you're chosen, and chosen ones must guard what's sacred. You've been through too much to let someone walk in and undo what God has been rebuilding inside you. This is not just about romance. It's about your roots, your future, your legacy. You are building something holy. You are being positioned for something generational, and that means everyone who wants access to you must pass through the gates of divine alignment. Your peace is the proof. When God is in it, the waters may rise, but they won't drown you. You'll feel steady even in uncertainty. You'll feel anchored even when the future isn't clear. That's the kind of love God sends. Love that lifts you without demanding. That you first lose yourself. Chosen one, listen closely now. When God wants to protect you, He won't just block the wrong people. He'll elevate your discernment so much that you block them yourself. You won't need thunder from the sky or fire from heaven. You'll simply know, and that knowing will be enough. Because the same way the enemy sends counterfeits dressed as soulmates, God sends discernment wrapped in intuition. He sends protection clothed in redirection. That ache in your chest, that's your soul asking for release. That silence between you and them, that's divine space creating room for clarity. That closed door, that's heaven's hand saying, not this one, beloved, not this time. Now here's the truth you may not want to admit. Sometimes the strongest soul ties come from the most broken places inside us. Sometimes we don't want to let go, not because we see love, but because we see familiarity. And familiarity isn't safety, it's a trap when it's built from trauma. Just because someone feels like home doesn't mean they are home. Sometimes they feel like home because you were raised in chaos, and their chaos fits the template. But that is not the kind of home God is building for you. God is building you a temple, not a tent. He is preparing a sacred space for your soul to be nourished, not neglected. And that means anything that comes with confusion, disarray, or spiritual compromise cannot be part of what He's constructing. You are not hard to love. You are hard to fool. That's why the enemy keeps sending people who almost look right, because he knows he can't break you, but he might be able to delay you if you settle for something just shy of divine. But no more. You're not entertaining distractions this season. You're not making excuses for misalignment. You're not praying for clarity and ignoring it when it comes. You're standing firm. You're listening. You're walking away from what doesn't sit right in your spirit, even if it once made your heart race. Because here's the secret. The one God sends will not just love you. They will understand you. Not just your smile, but your silence. Not just your presence, but your purpose. They will see your scars and not flinch. They will hear your story and speak to your future, not your pain. They will move in sync with your calling, not against it, and you'll know it's them, not because of how they make you feel in fleeting moments, but because of how your soul rests in their presence. No pretending, no performance, no pressure, just peace. So if what you have now doesn't bring that, be brave enough to walk away. Be bold enough to choose yourself. Be strong enough to trust that what God removes, He always replaces. With better, with sacred, with something that mirrors the strength of your soul, not the wounds of your past. Chosen one, don't get weary. In the waiting, don't settle because you're tired. Don't rush because you're lonely. Wait for what's worthy. Wait for what's holy. Wait for what God actually sent, because when it comes, you'll know. Not because it overwhelms you, but because it calms you. Because it confirms you, because it aligns with everything you prayed for when you weren't pretending, when you were honest with God about the deepest parts of your soul. You are not here to repeat cycles. You are here to break them. You are not here to lose yourself in love. You are here to find yourself in divine union, and you are not here to guess if you are loved. You are here to be sure of it, to be rooted in it, to be lifted by it, and to never again settle for a connection that costs you your crown. Chosen one, when God sends you a sign, He doesn't just whisper once and walk away. He repeats it, louder, clearer, in places you didn't expect and moments you weren't looking. He will speak through dreams that haunt your spirit, through strangers who say exactly what your heart feared to admit, through circumstances that loop, repeat, and force you to feel the truth you've been avoiding. That's how God speaks when He loves you. He doesn't leave you in confusion. He raises the volume until you listen. There's a sacred discomfort that comes when you keep ignoring the signs. It starts as a nudge, then becomes a weight on your chest. The same conversations that used to bring joy now leave you feeling drained. The connection that once sparked hope now feels like walking through fog. Your soul begins to ache, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're out of alignment with what's right. God is not trying to make you suffer. He's trying to awaken you. He knows your heart wants to see the best in others. He knows your loyalty runs deep, sometimes even to your own detriment. That's why He sends the signs in waves. Because He knows how hard it is for someone like you, someone chosen, to let go of something you've already emotionally invested in. But chosen one, divine clarity always comes before divine release. The signs are not there to confuse you. They're there to confirm that it's time to trust what your spirit has already discerned. You weren't meant to walk around with your heart stitched to a question mark. God didn't design you for spiritual limbo. When He speaks, it's never hollow. It echoes in your dreams, your energy, your circumstances, and the reason it's getting louder, because God knows if He doesn't get your attention now, you might walk into a lifetime of spiritual compromise. The enemy hopes you confuse repetition with reassurance. But let me tell you, just because something keeps showing up doesn't mean it's God's best. Sometimes the sign isn't their presence, it's your unrest. Sometimes the message isn't what they say. It's how you shrink in their company, how your gifts go dormant, how your joy becomes conditional. God is not repeating Himself because He's unsure. He's repeating Himself because He loves you too much to watch you settle again. So pay attention to the loop, the feeling that keeps returning, the situations that unfold in patterns, the prayers you keep praying, followed by signs you keep dismissing. That's not confusion. That's divine compassion. That's God refusing to let you walk blind into bondage. That's the warning before the collapse, the rescue wrapped in redirection. And here's the deeper truth. When it's real, you won't need to beg for signs. You won't have to hold your breath. You won't live in suspense. The love God sends will speak with such clarity that it silences your inner storms. You'll know, not because it's perfect, but because it's peaceful. Not because it's instant, but because it's intentional. Not because it's easy, but because it's anointed. God repeats his signs not to punish your delay, but to preserve your destiny. Chosen one, let go of the rope. You've been trying to pull someone toward purpose who isn't even facing the same direction. You've been trying to build with someone who keeps handing you broken bricks. You've been making excuses for behavior that your spirit already knows isn't sustainable. That's not love. That's spiritual warfare. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey where God tests your ability to choose him over your desire to be chosen by someone else. And the longer you hold on to what doesn't honor your anointing, the heavier your spirit becomes. That heaviness, that's not depression. It's the weight of carrying a relationship that isn't rooted in divine soil. That's your soul screaming for relief. You've been given vision, and vision requires clarity. But clarity can't survive in an environment where confusion is romanticized. You weren't born to be a puzzle piece in someone else's unfinished story. You're the blueprint, the design, the foundation for something sacred. And anything or anyone that constantly has you questioning your worth is not part of what God is building. Here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud, love that is truly God-sent does not arrive needing to be fixed. It arrives ready to build. It may not be flawless, but it will be fruitful. You'll see growth in both of you. You'll feel accountability, not excuses. You'll witness effort, not empty promises. Divine love doesn't need convincing, it needs stewardship. You've been chosen to break the cycle of trauma bonding, to reject the belief that you must sacrifice your peace to prove your loyalty. You've been sent to build a love that mirrors God's heart, not just repeat patterns of pain disguised as passion. You are not here to be someone's savior. You are here to be someone's answered prayer, but only if they've prayed with the same purity you carry. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is let go of someone you once begged God to bless, because love is not enough if it doesn't honor your calling. Chemistry means nothing without consistency. Connection is hollow without commitment, and desire fades when it's not sustained by divine purpose. Stop trying to force forever with someone who treats your spirit like a temporary shelter. You are a home, not a hotel. You are sacred ground, not a pit stop, and the one who is for you will know how to build, not break, nurture, not neglect, love, not use. But before that person arrives, you have to become the person who believes you deserve that kind of love, that kind of peace, that kind of divine alignment. You have to believe you are worthy of not having to fight for the bare minimum, that you are allowed to ask for more, that you are not difficult. You are deeply aware of your worth. This is your season to stop chasing and start attracting, to stop explaining and start embodying, to stop questioning and start aligning. When you become rooted in your value, the universe shifts, the counterfeit falls away, the distractions lose their pull, and what's real rises to meet you, not because you chased it, but because you were finally still enough to receive it. Chosen, when God has not forgotten your heart, He has heard every whispered prayer, seen every silent tear, and felt every aching pause in your breath when you almost settled again. But He is a God of order, and He will not let chaos live in a heart meant to carry legacy. So rise, recenter, reclaim your peace. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of surrender, a version that no longer tolerates confusion, that no longer shrinks for love, that no longer bends to be accepted. That version of you walks in alignment, speaks in clarity, moves in purpose, and that version attracts what is holy. You are not asking for too much. You are asking in a world that settles for too little, but heaven hears you. And when the right soul arrives, they will not bring fireworks that fizzle. They will bring fire that sustains, not sparks that deceive, but sacred light that lasts. It's coming. But first, let your soul be quiet enough to hear the final sign, the one that confirms the waiting was never in vain, the one that reminds you God always saves the best for those who never settle. Chosen one, there comes a moment on your path where the silence of heaven isn't a void. It's a sacred invitation to go deeper, a moment when your spirit is being refined in stillness, not punished by it. You've wondered why certain people keep falling away, why your heart no longer feels at home in the places you used to settle, why the connections that once felt like fire now flicker with hollowness. It's because you're being elevated. Not everyone is permitted in the airspace of your next level, and when elevation begins, exposure follows. The masks fall, the illusions unravel, and suddenly you can see with divine eyes what your heart couldn't understand before. The ones you used to idolize now look small in the light of your growth. The ones you fought to keep in your life, they begin to crumble under the pressure of your becoming. That's not betrayal. It's spiritual filtration. God is not subtracting to hurt you. He's pruning to heal you. Every removal is protection. Every rejection is redirection. Every silence is sacred strategy. Because chosen one, the higher you go, the more dangerous dead weight becomes. You can't carry those who refuse to climb. You can't convince people to value your spirit when they're still idolizing your surface. You're not made to be understood by everyone. And that's not arrogance, that's alignment. You're not here to be common. You're here to be called, set apart, marked by divine fingerprints. There is a fire in you that scares those still, hiding in their shadows. They loved you when you were smaller, quieter, easier to manage. But now, your truth is too loud. Your energy is too sharp. Your presence is a mirror, revealing their lack of growth. And when that happens, the sabotage begins. Not always openly. Sometimes it comes through subtle discrediting, through backhanded compliments, through passive control masked as concern. They don't say it, but you feel it. You're not supposed to outgrow them. Your expansion threatens the version of themselves they refuse to release. But that's not your burden. You're not responsible for the comfort of those committed to their own stagnation. You are responsible for obeying what God has placed inside you. And that means letting go of the familiar when it no longer matches your frequency. Stop grieving the rooms God pulled you from. You were not dismissed. You were delivered. You were not abandoned. You were anointed for a higher path. The conversations that no longer flow, the bonds that no longer feed you, the relationships that feel like heavy echoes from a past version of you, they were never meant to survive the altitude of your calling. It hurts, I know. Letting go of people you prayed would stay, watching love you nurtured begin to wilt. But the truth is, what's built on ego can't survive the winds of divine purpose. What was rooted in trauma can't hold steady in the soil of healing. And what was sent to distract you will not be allowed to remain in your destiny. Chosen one, real love doesn't require you to shrink. The right person won't feel threatened by your growth. They will celebrate it. They won't need to be convinced of your value. It will be obvious to them because they're walking in their own purpose too. They won't try to compete with your light because they've been busy building theirs. And that's the shift. That's what you've been sensing in your spirit. The separation was never about loss. It was about making space. God is about to introduce you to people who understand your language without you needing to explain your vocabulary. People who don't just pray for you, but pray with you. People who don't just tolerate your anointing, they treasure it. People who don't see your discernment as a threat, but as a gift. You are not too much. You've just been in rooms too small. And now God is expanding your environment to match your elevation. But in order for that to happen, you must first get clear. Clear about who you are. Clear about what you carry. Clear about what you deserve. No more justifying misalignment. No more calling chaos chemistry. No more convincing your heart to settle for what your spirit has already outgrown. This is the season of sacred alignment, of divine refinement, of unapologetic authenticity. You weren't created to blend in. You were built to break patterns. You are the curse breaker, the trailblazer, the divine disruptor in your bloodline. That's why it's been heavy. That's why you felt isolated. That's why you've been misunderstood, because you're carrying something they haven't seen before. You are walking in an identity they haven't accepted in themselves yet. And hear this, you are not obligated to slow your growth for the sake of someone else's comfort. The ones who are meant to walk with you will catch up. They won't ask you to dim, dilute, or delay. They will rise just as you have, and those who don't, bless them, release them. Love them from a distance, but do not let them anchor your future to a version of you God has already delivered you from. Let them misunderstand you. Let them question your motives. Let them whisper in rooms you've outgrown. Your calling will speak louder than their confusion. Your fruit will silence every false narrative. You don't need to defend what's been divinely orchestrated. You just need to keep walking in obedience. Chosen one, you are not building a temporary connection. You are building legacy. You are not chasing validation. You are walking in revelation. You are not here for applause. You are here for alignment. And when you truly grasp the power of that, you'll stop entertaining anything that interrupts your peace. You'll stop answering calls from your past that no longer have access to your present. You'll stop shrinking your truth just to keep the peace in places where peace was never rooted in truth to begin with. This is your rising season, the season where solitude becomes strength, where boundaries become sacred, where silence becomes a weapon and discernment becomes your protection. You don't need to beg for what is aligned. You don't need to prove your worth to people who lack the capacity to hold it. You don't need to explain why you're no longer available to people who never truly saw you in the first place. God saw you. God still sees you. And that's enough. You were chosen not just to feel love, but to embody it. Not just to find purpose, but to walk in it. Not just to survive, but to lead. Every storm was preparation. Every betrayal was pruning. Every delay was divine alignment. And now you're ready. Not because it's easy, but because you've been made strong in the fire. You carry the weight of purpose in your bones, the whispers of destiny in your soul. You are not here by accident. You were born for this, born to lead, born to shine, born to love in a way that heals generations, born to speak truth into silence, born to walk alone if you must, but never without power, because the one who walks with you is greater than anything trying to stop you. And as you continue forward, remember this: nothing holy is ever rushed. Nothing divine needs to be forced. And nothing aligned will ever ask you to sacrifice your peace, your power, or your purpose to make it work. Stay in alignment, stand in your truth, walk in your authority, because heaven has already written your name in victory, and nothing, no one, can erase what has already been sealed by divine hands. Chosen one, this is your moment, the moment where everything that has ever tried to break you suddenly makes sense. The loneliness, the long nights, the unspoken prayers, the relationships that almost but never quite fit. All of it was leading you to this awakening. You weren't forgotten. You weren't cast aside. You were hidden, sheltered, guarded. by grace. And now the veil is lifting, and you can finally see yourself not as the world tried to define you, but as heaven always has. You've spent years questioning what made you feel different, why your heart couldn't settle for what satisfied everyone else, why certain places, certain people, certain paths just never clicked. It's because you were never called to be ordinary. You were never designed to blend in. You were born with spiritual weight in your bones, with purpose etched into your very breath, with fire in your belly that couldn't be dimmed, no matter how many storms tried to put it out. You've survived what others didn't. You've stood in the fire and came out with your faith intact. You've faced betrayal and still chose love. You've been counted out but never counted yourself out. You've had to learn how to comfort yourself when no one understood your pain. You've had to walk alone, not because you were unworthy of company, but because your path was too narrow for crowds. You've been misunderstood not because you were wrong, but because your truth was too loud for people addicted to silence. And now, here you are, wiser, stronger, softer, but not weak, clearer, yet still full of mystery, ready, not because you feel fearless, but because your faith finally outweighs your fear. This is what it means to be chosen. To walk through the fire and not come out smelling like smoke. To be pressed but not crushed. To be misunderstood, yet still hold your head high. You are the seed that grew in concrete, the light that refused to die in darkness, the evidence that God is still in the business of resurrection. You carry in you a purpose so powerful, the enemy tried to convince you to question your worth. He tried to sabotage your identity, to distract you with false promises, to make you settle for connections that could never hold your capacity. He sent counterfeits in, hopes you would abandon your calling. But here you are, still standing, still searching, still holding the sacred, and now heaven is calling your name. Not to beg, not to shrink, but to rise. You don't need anyone's permission to step into your purpose. You don't need to water down your truth so it's easier to digest. You don't need to postpone your power just to make others comfortable. The time for waiting is over. The time for wondering is over. You've been approved by heaven, anointed for such a time as this. Your story, yes, your real story, with all its scars and setbacks and silent struggles, is the key that will unlock freedom for others. Your journey wasn't just about you. It was about the generations coming after you, about the lives your obedience will impact, about the chains your voice will break. You weren't meant to just survive. You were meant to shift atmospheres, to shift hearts, to shift entire bloodlines into healing, truth, and liberation. It's time to own that, not with arrogance, but with sacred awareness. You are a vessel, a portal, a walking miracle of what happens when God's hand never lets go. Don't you see? You've been refined, shaped, molded, not for applause, but for assignment. And you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know the final destination. All you need to do is trust the next step. Because when God orders your steps, even the detours are divine. Even the delays carry purpose. Even the closed doors are redirections wrapped in mercy. You don't need to chase anything that's meant for you. You are magnetic when you move in alignment. You are unstoppable when you trust timing over urgency. You are most powerful when you are most you. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unshaken. You don't have to prove your value. Your presence is proof. Enough. Chosen one, there is nothing small about you, nothing ordinary, nothing random. You are a living message, a spiritual warrior, a force that heaven trusts. And if heaven trusts you with this life, with this path, with this purpose, why are you still doubting your own strength? Let that doubt die here. Let the fear dissolve. Let every voice that ever told you you weren't enough fall silent now. You are more than enough. You are exactly what this moment needs. You are exactly who God saw when He whispered destiny into the wind. And from this moment forward, walk like you know that. Speak like you carry heaven in your lungs. Love like your heart is connected to the source of all things pure. Move like every step is a ripple in eternity, because it is. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not lost, you are being positioned. And soon what felt like delay will be revealed as divine choreography. The tears, the heartbreak, the waiting, the wilderness, all of it will begin to bloom into purpose so radiant you'll realize it was all necessary. So don't rush this moment. Let it rise in you slowly, like the sun that never fails to return. Let it unfold in divine rhythm. Let yourself be amazed at what happens when you stop chasing and start embodying. You are not who you used to be. You are not who they thought you were. You are who God says you are. And the more you agree with that truth, the more heaven aligns everything around you to match it. This is the unveiling, the emergence, the sacred unveiling of everything you've been becoming in the dark. And now it's your time. Time to stop second-guessing your gift. Time to stop apologizing for your calling. Time to stop hiding your heart just to make others feel safe in their shadows. Time to speak. Time to lead. Time to heal. Time to love with power. Time to walk in such divine truth that everything not aligned with your purpose has no choice but to fall away. You are ready. You are called. You are chosen. And now, chosen one, it's time to rise.